welcome back. All right, so a quick recap.
All right, welcome back. Now looking at every team opening dates, and
Missouri opens the season at home 6 straight games. The longest season opening streak in program history, and there are 6 of the 16 schools that don't play back-to-back road games in 2025.
Ooh.
That includes the SEC champion Georgia Bulldogs. All right, Paul Feinbaum back with us here.
All right.
You've had time
now
to digest
we're just going to talk these over the week slates.
What are the big takeaways in your mind?
Interestingly, it's almost the same as last year. What are the biggest games of the year? Texas at Georgia. We got that game in October last year, on October 19th. And what about Alabama at Georgia? It's really very similar. I think we know when the season begins, Daria, it will probably be the same two teams that played in the SEC championship game as the favorites. And Texas still has that same schedule that a lot of fans thought was too easy, but they do start
at the rivalry game.
Ohio State, and I think having to go to Georgia makes it so much more problematic for them. Alabama always a must-see. Can they navigate that Florida State game early on? They should. They have Wisconsin at home, but that game at Georgia is going to be so intriguing, considering that Georgia has had so little success against Alabama in recent years.
Paul, in just a little bit, we'll start diving through some individual team schedules with you. You made the point off the air a minute ago that, there might be people out there watching that are thinking whatever 24 schedule was, 25 is exactly the same in terms of order. You're just going to, it's just different teams are home.
Yeah.
Not the case. We're seeing games that are moved around the schedule. September games normally that are in November, so on and so forth. All right, Roman, we'll start with you here. Biggest takeaway in general now that we've revealed the entire schedule?
That it's going to be competitive, that no team really has an easy schedule. I didn't look at anybody and say, man, this is a very manageable schedule right here. Like, this sets up perfect for them. I didn't get
honestly,
that. So everybody has a tough schedule. And the SEC is just a gauntlet. So, but if you win your games, you have a chance to make it to the playoffs. And when you don't win your games, you have a chance to fall upon the guillotine that is the committee's opinion about you.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is really the out-of-conference games. We know that the SEC conference games are going to be tough. I think the timing matters, where it is in the season, how many times you have a bye week, then you're going on the road. All those things matter, but also it's the out-of-conference games. You see teams playing teams like Michigan, teams like Notre Dame out of conference. Those things matter. Again, when it comes to the committee at the end of the season, you're looking at which type of teams you're playing in Arizona State. You got Mississippi State playing in Arizona State, a team that's in the playoff. And so all those things matter. Are you willing to extend yourself and challenge yourself by playing some of these football teams, or are you going to play lesser opponents? I think we're still figuring out, because really, let's be honest, it's all about how many SEC teams we can get in the playoff.
Yes.
And we look at what happened this year, and we say, okay, moving forward, how do we change this thing around to put our teams with a better opportunity to get in the playoff and win a national championship?
When you talk about game placement, bye weeks, I mean, I look at Florida even. They've got basically 3 straight road games in November versus Georgia and Jacksonville, then at Kentucky, then at Ole Miss, which begs the question, Roman, when you look at these schools and their schedules, who has the toughest stretch of games, and how long is that stretch in your eyes?
I hate to say it, Oklahoma, you're up, baby. You look at that last 7 games of their season. You start at Kent State, but I'll skip that one. Texas, at South Carolina, Ole Miss at home, at Tennessee. You get a bye week, it doesn't matter, at Alabama, Missouri, and LSU. You finish with your last 7 games. 7 out of those 9 teams finished with a winning record inside the conference last year. This is a tough stretch. And this is just based upon what we thought of them last year. And Oklahoma is another team that has to improve, too. You can't just roll out there and be the same Oklahoma and think you're going to win these games. You have to improve. The other teams that you're going to play, they already had a better record than you did last year. How do you improve? So Oklahoma's a team with this type of schedule. You are in race to improve, and it starts right now.
You talk about improvement. I'm looking at Mississippi State saying that you're up because defensively they struggled so much this past year. Even offensively, what's going to happen at quarterback and the Jeff Lebby offense. But they've got a stretch of 5 games where they play 2 playoff teams. If you want to extend that to 7 games, they've got Tennessee, then they go to Texas A&M, then they have an open date. But that 5-game stretch that starts later in the season, October 18th through November 15th, you're at Florida, obviously on the road there. You get Texas, which is the playoff team, at home. You go to Arkansas. Then you get Georgia, a team that you played fairly well during this past season, but you get them at home in
This is
another
the
playoff game.
2025
You lose
SEC
to
football
Missouri.
schedule
Looking at that stretch,
reveal
that's
show.
tough for any team, especially tough for a team in Mississippi State that still has a lot of questions offensively and defensively. Dom.
My hunch is when they scheduled Arizona State, they weren't thinking, oh, we got a playoff team coming in. That was not supposed to be a playoff team at that particular point. All right, Paul, when you look at toughest stretches, who do you have?
Same as last year, it's Florida, and it's really brutal. There's an open week in the middle of this, but Florida is at LSU, at Miami. They have Texas at home and Texas A&M. So much excitement, so much momentum with that program with DJ Lagway, but Billy Napier got a bounce back last year, but he still has to be able to show significant improvement, and this is where we are going to find out whether he has done that or not.
No, that's all Gator fans need, right? Yeah, we got another nasty schedule. Look, it's part of life in the SEC. They certainly had a tough draw in 24 and navigated the toughest stretch of it well, so they certainly would hope to do that again. My goodness, you know, it's there's so much to it that we've seen, and we'll start kind of looking ahead a little bit team by team. But what's the key to navigating something like this? Like what, whether it's coaching, whether it's leadership in the locker room, how do you navigate these kinds of grinds?
Well, it's imperative for coaches and players, I would say, to not listen to us.
Yes.
Don't listen to us. Don't listen to folks that write on the beat. Don't listen to people on ESPN. Tune in, but don't listen, because we all have predictions about how your season is going to turn out. We have our ideas of what we've seen, the body of work from these different teams, but you don't know how it's going to turn out during the season. You don't know from week to week who's going to be hurt, who's not, who's going to perform well. And so football really is a minute by minute, day by day, week by week, game by game business. The teams that play well, the players that excel are able to take all this noise and whittle it down to what do I have to do today? Because honestly, Roman, it doesn't matter what anybody's prediction of your football team is. It just doesn't matter. What matters is how you perform, how you get better every single day, and what are the things that you're doing to improve not only yourself, but your team.
I love, you can tell he's an athlete. You can tell just the mentality of it. For me, I wrote it down and said it's more about who plays than who you actually play. And that is all about talent acquisition. Getting the best players and getting them ready to go, because the game is decided in between the white lines, just like Benjamin Watson just said.
And there is no doubt these teams are going to look drastically different when these games are played than they do right now as we are revealing the schedule. All right, 3 SEC teams are off to the college football playoff. We will start with those 3 as we reveal.
Now, when we get
individual
back,
team
it's time for the
schedules.
SEC college football playoff team schedules.